rare footage of extinct animals. Number 3. The thylacine. What you're seeing is the very last thylacine to ever exist. Farmers gave bounties to everyone shot and killed, leading to their numbers to dwindle. This thylacine died in captivity in 1936, and though others have come forward with spotty footage, no real proof has been shown that these still exist. Number 2. Lonesome George, widely known as the last Pinta Island tortoise. He was found in 1971 and immediately taken into captivity, as he was already the last of his kind. Though he lived over 100 years, his inevitable demise came sooner than later. His cells were then kept in a lab, and hopefully one day will be used to bring back the species from extinction. Number 1. The black rhino. None were found in the wild for more than 5 years before people announced their extinction in 2011. They were ran to extinction due to excessive poaching. Their horns were cut off and sold in the black market. Either way, it's highly unlikely we will ever see these animals again. Top 3 close calls with death. Number 3. Two friends are casually washing their car when the unexpected happens. Out of seemingly nowhere, a car goes zooming up to them. They would have had no time to react, and if they weren't already moving apart from each other, they would be enjoying their last moments alive. Number 2. A woman coming home late from work is stopped by a homeless man. She tried to ignore him as she was scared, but he began pulling and trying to drag her away. While the apartment worker called the cops, Austin James, a drug addict, was trying to haul her away. Though his intentions were unknown, she said she knew he wanted her life. Number 1. What can only be described as a living nightmare. A plane malfunctions while in the sky, forcing the pilot to make an emergency land on a small strip of highway. One pole, car, or sign could have ended it all. Luckily, he found a tight space and got to live another day. The Wild Girl. November 4th, 1970. Los Angeles Child Services discovered an unusual case of child neglect. At 13 years of age, Suzanne had the demeanor and appearance of a 6-year-old girl. When the authorities began investigating, Suzanne's parents, Irene and Clark, had 2 deceased children they never accounted for. The third kid lived with Clark's mother, and Suzanne, also known as Jean, was the unlucky one to live with her parents. Despite her age, she was unable to speak, feed herself, or even use a toilet. She weighed less than 60 pounds. She was kept in cramped spaces for most of the time, which led her to walk in an unusual way. After the Child Services finally rescued Jean, psychologists devoted themselves to this girl's recovery. She was then known as a feral child. Her isolation stunted her cognitive and behavioral abilities. She never developed the ability to communicate with language, although her behavior and social skills improved with years of reinforcement therapy. She's still living today. Private investigators were hired. They described her as now living happy and well. Top 3 close calls with death. Number 3. A man trying to haul some material has his friend lay on it because they had nothing to tie it down with. That could have been a lot worse. Number 2. A family has a grease fire, easy to manage, but they ended up pouring water on it, which never puts it out and only splashes it around. Number 1. This man jumps into a popular hippie hole, but has no idea a boat would be right where he's landing. Despite looking deadly, he actually just missed the boat and landed in the water directly next to it. If you enjoy these close calls, visit my YouTube channel where I go over the sub and watch a lot more of these. Who has killed the most people? I got this intriguing email. Hey, I was wondering who was the person who killed the most people. Signed from, your fan. Which in turn made me curious myself. In today's times, that would be Harold Shipman. He is the one serial killer with the highest known victim count, and the most prolific modern day serial killer. He has 218 proven murders, and possibly as many as 250. And that was quoted straight from Wikipedia. Though that was specific to modern times, who has killed the most people ever? That title belongs to Genghis Khan. Him and his legion of savage soldiers killed more than 11% of the world's population. That was during the 12th century, making it more than 40 million people. He himself was a warrior in the fights, and with his own bare hands, managed to kill around 100,000 people himself. Genghis Khan's army was ruthless. They left no survivors. Women, children, it didn't matter. Some viewers may find this disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. Top 3 most painful torture methods. Number 3. Trampling. In Southeast Asia, elephants were trained to stomp in circles over top prisoners, squishing their bodies and eventually their head. 9,000 pounds of elephant foot to the face is enough to pop it like a grape. Number 2. Ling Chi, or commonly known as death by 1,000 cuts. The victim was tied down, and body parts were lopped off, one at a time, so accurately, the victim was usually still screaming and squirming in pain, while the executioners ripped out their heart. Number 1. Gridiron. Simply put, they were strapped down to a human grill. They were said to be covered in oil, to ensure the entire body would cook. A fire would be set beneath them, and they would be in total agony anywhere from 1 to 13 minutes. I overcharged over 5,000 people. Back in high school, I used to work for the concession stand. In my school, the booth was a little folding table where I would sell water, pop, and chips. To anyone that was a visiting team, I would charge 25 to 50 cents more on the items they wanted to buy, and I would keep it. I ended up making somewhere around $3,000 doing this for my high school career, and no one ever found out because I didn't charge anyone from the home team the same amount. I once made a kid drink my urine. It was snack time at church. We had cookies and Mountain Dew. The older kids dared me to piss in a cup and give it to you. I was dumb and eager to impress and belong. We were young, maybe 8. You were a bit of a bully, but I was no better. I wish I had the courage to be my own man. I still wish it. I'm sorry, Eric. Top 3 freak shows, Part 2. Number 3. Elastic Man. Felix Worley suffered from Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which caused him to have unusually stretchy skin. He performed at Barnum and Bailey's, and aside from stretchy skin, he led a pretty average life, unlike Number 2. Elephant Man. He was rejected by his parents, and forced to make money selling his face and dignity to the freak show. Though time constraints limit me from telling you his whole backstory, he's the poster boy for a sad freak show life. Abused, never loved, touched by a woman once, and died in his sleep from his deformities. Number 1. Lobster Boy. Well known from AHS Freak Show, his genetic condition, ectrodactyly, caused his fingers and toes to fuse together, forming lobster-like claws. He ended up becoming a raging alcoholic from being an outcast since birth, and in the end, murdering his daughter's fiancé. The Worst American Fire. May 3rd, 1851. In 3 days, more than 30 fires destroyed over 2,500 buildings, caused by a ruptured gas main. It was estimated that more than 3/4 of San Francisco burned to the ground. It may have been smaller than in today's times, but around 500,000 people were living there at the time, which you've been seeing as aftermath photos, but San Fran had an immense bounce back. Sadly, this video was taken days before the San Francisco earthquake, which also leveled the city. Crazy Cat Lady. Omega's live stream function allows people to video chat with common interests. In late April, people on the interest furry got a disgusting sight. A woman now dubbed as Crazy Cat Lady was skinning, burning, and finally killing cats. Many people, namely furries, saw the torturing of these cats in the most horrific ways. The times after the cats were dead, she would laugh maniacally at people's terrified reactions and felt no remorse.
Why are you doing this?
She claimed herself to be a French taxidermist, but that profession doesn't include or allow torture. She's killed dogs and even posted TikToks of cats sounding in distress calls. After this got big, she said she wants to put the fear into people because she claims she was abused by her ex, which is no real excuse to turn into a torturous monster. Many people are trying to figure out her identity and alert the proper authorities. May 3rd, law enforcement got involved and now are in a continuous investigation. Some viewers may find this disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. Dark secrets hidden in plain sight. Not many have gotten the opportunity to see these close up and personal. But with modern day video enhancement, we are finally able to see uncontacted humans. Off the coast of India lies the North Sentinel Island, home to some of the last uncontacted humans in the world. They branched out and have been living quietly on this island for nearly 30,000 years, giving us a good depiction of what early human civilization was like. There's anywhere from 80 to 500 people living on this island. They hunt from canoes, eat fruit, and hunt with poles in shallow water. What they don't like are visitors. In the 1800s, the British claimed it was their island and kidnapped 6 of their people. Their immune systems weren't prepared for their sicknesses, and when all 6 got deathly sick, they threw them back on the shore of the island. And ever since, visitors are met with arrows and rocks. Many Christians have raided the island, claiming they need to force their religion on them, not caring that they already have culture and religion, and every time, they are killed. The Sentinelese people have lives. They have rights. Just leave them be. Locked-in syndrome. Caused usually by a brainstem stroke or TBI, the patient is in what the medical field refers to as a pseudocoma. The patient is completely aware of their surroundings. All sense is still intact, but they've lost the ability to communicate verbally, caused by complete and total paralysis of voluntary muscles, which includes the vocal cords. This happened to Gene Bobby, who after a stroke suffered from locked-in syndrome, but he was lucky. He was still able to blink his left eyelid, and he developed a plan to blink the alphabet to be able to communicate, one blink being A, two blinks being B, and so on. He then wrote an entire book, as he slowly blinked while his interpreter wrote it. Sadly, 2 days after the publishing of his book, on March 7th, 1997, he passed away from pneumonia.
And he took himself off all of his life-prolonging drugs. So the only things he's on now are things to keep him comfortable. And he made a directive saying that if he was, not to resuscitate him, and if he should have another stroke, then he wasn't to be treated, just to let him go.